Hi. I discovered a new supernatural power I had today. Pretty fun. I had the power to melt an ice cube with my mind, just staring at it patiently, slowly. It worked, eventually. That's power for you. Alright. Hi guys. Deep breath, relax. Let's go into the mood of a class. Starting with Visantara, if you remember the practice, or at least go into a state of honesty with yourself. Let's not do deep integration, let's just be honest with ourselves. Om agnaya yanmaya swaha. For this class of Kuji-in JIN, step 6. I will change a bit the way I structure the class just to make it easier to follow. Agnaya yanmaya means everything at its core has the same properties as fire. Agnaya is like fire. Yanmaya is what the thing is fundamentally made of. Okay. It is important to understand intellectually that concept. But even if you do, there will be a limit of how deep you can feel it, depending on how much experience you have of the past teachings. The more you can be humble, the more you can be honest with yourself, and the more you accept to feel when it's time to feel. Not permanently, but when it's more productive or more growing to feel. Well, the more you'll be able to feel that principle, that everything has the same properties than fire. It doesn't mean that everything is on fire or that everything is fire. We have to identify those properties of fire and then try to feel that everything is like that. Fire is fluid, impermanent, always flowing. So, and it's made of energy. And a fire is not a slave of a form. It embraces its formlessness. Like the Vajra, a flame, whenever it happens, it's over. It's just a moment. So a flame is also not stuck in structure. But it has a way of behaving that we can recognize. A flame When we see one, we know it's a flame. So there are properties that allows us to identify a flame or fire. So it still exists. It's something. But the moment one flame expresses itself, it dies. It has consumed its essence. Okay? So, impermanence of all things, fluidity, but it is the element that has the most transformation power. Okay? So these are the properties of fire that we want to contemplate, that everything is also made of those properties. Everything is impermanent, moving, with a strong power of transformation. The mudra is like anything inside. Okay, so all the fingers go inside. For the martial artist, they connect the tips, they put pressure, and they pull out to feel, JIN. Okay, to feel the intensity. And it is a practice of a strong focused fire that comes to destroy something. For the spiritualist, the fingers are relaxed, not necessarily touching, but can be. Okay, but just relax. At one point you'll touch when you start with no pressure, but at one point you'll just relax into it and let your fingers go naturally where they want. Okay, it's everything inside connected still. Okay. Agnaya yanmaya swaha. And this is the subtle embracing of the fundamental structure of the universe. Fluid, energy, changing. It embraces the Vajra mind state in the manifest world. Actually, on all planes, whatever is constructed. It embraces that everything, like lightning, the moment you see it, it's over. Like diamond, it is strong and it can apply force on other things. Agnaya yanmaya. The world is made like that. With patience and practice, this will make more sense. Now, this class on Jin, I started with the mantra explanation and the state to contemplate. Now we will build on this, basically. Let's go back to the Vajra state. Before my birth, I was formless. After my death, I will be formless. Now, I am formless. Even while my body has a form, I am formless. Nameless, without definition. With the practice of this state of being, now contemplate Om Agnaya Yanmaya Swaha. Everything deep at its core is formless, nameless, undefined consciousness. It flows, it affects each other. Om Agnaya Yanmaya Swaha. The swaha, we spoke about it many times in the past. I'll summarize. Be in an honest state with yourself while practicing. Let's keep it short. Good. So agnaya and maya, that contemplation, is easier the more you have the Vajramanatai cultivated. And the more you recognize in all other things, Samanta, okay? Vajranam. Om Namah Samanta Vajranam Ham. In all things, the state of Vajra that I have discovered for myself, all things are made like that. So then you proceed in a state of being, the Vajra state, in the manifested world, the agnaya state. Okay? Like fire. So we're getting closer to how the world is fabricated. And how we understand it will change. How we perceive the world will change. Let's continue deeper on understanding what this teaching implies. Like any capitalist, I take my coffee for granted, and I complain when I cannot drink 7 without heartburns. Oh yeah, that's true, I'm socialist. I'm so grateful that I can have still coffee and toilet paper at the store. And I will responsibly only drink 2 so I don't get heartburns. And I'm satisfied with what I have. My sense of humor is like fire. It is impermanent. I tried something here, really, for class. Let's see where it goes. When you get angry, how long does it take before you go into a state of personal growth? I'm not asking to chastise yourself. I'm asking you to just honestly recognize that there's a period of time that changes per reaction, of course, depending on the amount of drama. How much time is spent? It's just an objective fact. Like, yeah, sometimes minutes, sometimes days. You see this trait of reaction that comes before we go back to personal growth in a reaction. There's a rigidity there. These reactions defy the fluidity of agnaya yanmaya. It turns the flow of gaining and mourning, or appreciating and mourning and then gaining, letting go. It goes against the flow of things that come and go. It's not an honest, humble state when we are reacting. It's normal. Don't chastise yourself. Simply decide to work on it to get better. And you will. You do, if you do personal growth. Okay, so it's a good thing. Just realize it. When we decide, unconsciously of course, to remain in reaction and not process consciously the feelings that rise, we take distance from the Vajra state of being and the agnaya state of things. That rigidity is not forgiveness. It's not understanding properly what's going on. In the throat chakra, those who studied other Kuji-in material, they know Jin has something to do with the throat chakra. And the throat chakra is about forgiveness and understanding yourself and others and things. It's also about definitions of what you know yourself to be. We learned that we only know what we were up to the last reaction. That's how it is. Being in a reaction, thus, is not applying forgiveness. It is not applying understanding of self and other. It is not compassion. And we lose our transformation approach and go into a destructive approach. It will hurt us and it will hurt the others. Do you like to also apply these structures to others? Just be honest with yourself. Do you like to feel security when you control other people's behavior? Just think about it. Is it reassuring? And do you have an egocentric gain, like getting attention, getting pride, getting security, when you want to impose limits on others? Just be honest with yourself. Maybe with your friends, at your job, with your lover. As parents with children, and I understand that because I'm a parent and I've seen the other parent, and we're human. So many times we impose structure on our children or our loved ones, thinking this is the best for them. But there's a subtle bridge when it is best for me, which is fine because parents need to maintain their sanity. Then we cross into greed, having more for ourselves. It's good for their autonomy to do everything they have to do. How much is the children or the lover feeling just imposed with your responsibilities instead? Or how much are you trying to limit the others so you can feel free in your environment? Just think about it. The way you interact with the world, at your job, like I said, the family, the environment. Sometimes you say, I impose my limits. Those limits, are they made of compassion or are they made of greed? Just ask yourself the question and be ready to mourn and afraid to lose some security or control over someone else. It's a strange phenomena. Many of my friends that are in a relationship, I see them impose limits to their children, and many of them are wise. Most of them are wise. Of course, children need a form of authority to learn to live in our society and not become arrogant assholes or annoying people. You know, behave in the norm of your society is practical. It's before expedient means you know to respect. But I see this kind of pressure applied to lovers, like one imposing a law to another. It's like, but where's the freedom in there? If you express what you want and what you desire, it's one thing. But did the lover choose to respect that rule? Or did you apply enough pressure for the other to concede? Just be honest. I'm not asking you to change. I'm asking you to find your integrity. Because that rigidity in your mind and in your heart, it is cutting you from the fundamental fluidity of the universe. It is hindering you. Your fear of not having enough for yourself is preventing you from feeling the core of what the universe is made of. It is reasonable amongst parents and children and amongst lovers to have limits, rules, structures in the same house. It's even important. Ask yourself up to which point it is for expedient means, productivity, compassion. Which one is to satisfy your insecurity? Which of these rules are made of just greed? Ask yourself, do you really want to be a controlling person? Everyone in their right mind say, I'm not a controlling person, or I recognize I am, but I don't want to be. You have to be honest with yourself and work on yourself. What do I fear losing by wanting so much control? What do I fear losing? There's a huge gray zone. A few rules are obviously compassionate, a few rules are obviously greedy, and a huge gray zone where we're not really sure. Because these rules apply to not only you, but to someone else who has a different threshold of tolerance, a different way of feeling. What is really useful? What is my choice? And am I giving my power to someone else by obeying these rules? Maybe you are on the other side of that and you feel structures are imposed on you. How much a slave are you by accepting the rules of your lover or your society? But how much is compassion? Because some of them are necessary in our world. It allows us to live not in a jungle. It's very useful. Be honest with yourself. How much are you accepting other people's control if you feel that it is not compassionate and you are giving away your own freedom for others to be greedy? Are you respecting yourself? Are you afraid of conflict to a point that you choose slavery? That too is a behavior of conceding your power to slavery and structure. That behavior too limit yourself from feeling the agnaya and yanmaya of the universe. By accepting other people's rules that are not based on compassion, that are to satisfy their insecurities, their greed, you're saying, I do not deserve the freedom of structure, and you accept them. And it's a weight on your heart, a weight on your mind, and pressure on your nervous system. It encourages memory loss and confusion during complex mathematical operations. It makes you structures irritate inside. It's emotional. The civil code of your country, the book of laws, the justice of your country, these, regardless of your opinion, these are to ensure a correct functioning of the world. So you should follow them and respect them. And that means, even if it looks greedy, they're built on compassion. Okay? They are to keep a stability in your society. Okay? Considering some in your society do not do personal growth and they would revolt. So don't apply all this wisdom I'm teaching today to Do I become an anarchist by defying the laws of the system? That is not wise. Okay. If your government is not pointing a physical gun on your physical hell, on your physical head, to force you to vote for a tyrant, if your country is not like that, you have still room for peaceful manifestation, negotiation. So don't revolt. Just express yourself in a peaceful, compassionate way. Okay? But don't deny the laws of a system. This is not wise. To apply this wisdom correctly, you have to define in your immediate relationship the humans you immediately communicate. And sometimes it applies to your pets. How much do you allow your pets to take over the human comfort? How much are you imposing limits to your pet just for you to be comfortable? Yeah, big questions. If you are children, please don't use this wisdom to defy the authority of your parents. Do your personal growth. You will find your freedom when you're an adult and when you get to decide where you live and what you do in your own home. Okay? If you're a parent, find what is compassionate, what is good to raise your children to be autonomous, and which rule you have built only to satisfy your laziness if you impose too much on your children. As for lovers, I mean, don't divorce after hearing this teaching, okay? Just chill down. It's all about understanding if I accept the greedy limits of someone else, I'm putting a stress on my system. I'm limiting myself. What is my fear of losing that love if I don't blindly obey a tyrant? And if you're the one imposing limits, how much security do I need from another person? How much greed do I have to want to control another? It's just about being honest, okay? So this is a big question. It all brings to fear and mourning stuff, losing something. Breathe. Let's move on to another stage. The structures we have imposed to ourselves. Some of them, like it's a quarantine time, I could go to sleep and wake up at any time I want, but I chose to still keep a schedule. That's my choice. And I realized it's for my own health. There are rules that we put on ourselves that we realize it's for our own health. And other rules that are just habit and belief and we're limited to. I will let you go around that. Some of these rules is I need my chocolate chip cookies. I absolutely must need them. If I don't have them, I will complain. Is that really a rule? Or is it just to satisfy a need that you have grown a habit and will complain about? The gray zone is why would anyone prevent you from having your chocolate chip cookies if that's what you want? So it depends on you to see how structured you are. For an alcoholic, why do you need so much that addiction? For any addiction, actually. If I don't satisfy that need, I will start to be dysfunctional and angry, but did you try to just face the pain that rises and asks for your subject of addiction? I intentionally went a day without coffee the other day because I want to see what happens. and part of my head on the right started to hurt. And I thought, was it the microwave? Was it too much talking on the phone? What was it? It took a while. I was, oh, I didn't take coffee today by choice. And it was just the stuff coming out of my system. Okay, it is what it is. To be rigid with ourselves, to be rigid with others, and to obey others' rigidity out of fear. We can tolerate someone else's rigidity out of compassion or indifference. We don't care if they are rigid like that. I don't care, you know. Maybe I have benefits of someone else's structure. Doesn't matter. But if you suffer a limitation because another person gets more angry than you and wins fights, it's heavy, huh? That speech will potentially cause conflicts now if you decide that you're done with the bullshit of your lover or your children or your parents. Yeah, it's a touchy subject. I will invite you to do your personal growth before you express yourself regarding the topic. Okay? Do your integration and do your personal growth before you decide to fight for liberation. Okay? Do some work on yourself. But you are responsible of your health and your freedom. And you should not suffer the tyranny of a partner. You should find a ground where everyone can be responsible. And the problem is when you do personal growth and your lover does not, and you chose that partner. So that too is an influence on what you decided to do. Okay. So it's a big topic. It's a big topic. For someone who is single and can never seem to agree with anyone, and you end up alone, ask yourself, if you never accept anyone's limits, structure, or personality trait, because you like to preserve your freedom, never accepting someone else's limits or conditions is also a form of enslavement to structures, because a structure is preventing you from obtaining something else you want, like a relationship. So that's something also to contemplate. Will you be unable to obtain anything from nature that you love? Because the moment there's something limiting you, you'll say, nope, I don't do compromise. A relationship means compromise also. You will gain something, you will lose something, always. But don't go into slavery, okay? That's what I mean. Good. It's a large topic, okay? All of this about structure was to inspire you the basics of the immense gray zone you will never really be certain exactly what is compassionate and what is greedy and what is fear of someone else's anger and what is respecting yourself, what is respecting the others. It's a big topic. You'll have to do personal growth on it. And hopefully the others in your life also do some form of personal growth, any form. The more you accept the vicious basics of structure, or if your structures are not based on virtue, compassion, kindness, the less you are able to address the agnaya yanmaya in the world. Okay. So this time I started the class with the feeling of agnaya yanmaya, and then I gave the personal growth about it for us to understand the contrast. Okay. Now we'll try to go back to agnaya yanmaya, but first we will say to ourselves, even if I'm not sure what is the base or the foundation of my structures, I will try to mourn them for the sake of the practice. I will try to mourn my structures, my beliefs of how society has to be done, my beliefs of how lovers should behave with one another, my beliefs of how parents have to behave with children, and how children should behave with parents. I will mourn my beliefs and let go, temporarily, until it can become permanent. I'll accept for a moment, for the sake of this practice, what if I lose my structures, my securities, and what I gain from my structures? What must I mourn and face the insecurity of a fluid world? Can you feel that fear of a fluid world where you cannot be sure of what you gain, but you can gain more truth, more truth in the manifested world and the philosophical world. Can I stay in a state of mourning structures? I'll see later if I bring them back on. Probably most of them I will. But for a moment, let us lose security. And by losing security, we will gain faith eventually when we're done with the mourning. See how your plexus is like, oh no, I'm losing my power over others. Oh, mourning, power over others. Things do not happen the way I want. I will not have all the comfort that I need. And I'm afraid to feel lonely in that. I'm afraid to lose my mind if I'm not constantly reassured by others. Mourn security and structures. Embrace fear of not obeying others. Just be in this vulnerable state and go feel the core of all things inside. Om agnaya yanmaya swaha. Your mind is fluid. Your emotions are fluid, they're not rigid. And as you practice that, you will eventually feel your mass, your animal, your genetic responses, and your mass is fluid. It doesn't need to be a slave of the basic nature intention. We spoke of how when everything was created, a basic intention of nature was put in everything natural. That's how mass holds itself, and that is how the animal have a base genetic behavior. Okay. Om agnaya yanmaya swaha. Thank you, Ryan and Raven, before for the help in Sanskrit. Om agnaya yanmaya swaha. Even the core fundamentals of how nature was built can regain its fluidity if I defeat the fears I have in nature. If I mourn the structures that reassure me. If I mourn my animal's need for security. And if I mourn everything I believe the world is made of, we can transcend, like alchemists, how atoms organize themselves. But first, we must mourn our mental control over others and ourselves. Our emotional structures based on greed and security and not based on compassion and growth and health. The more we practice this liberation of structure, let us just lose structures. And it is not necessarily pleasant at first. It is fear of absolute freedom, even at the base intention of creation. But it is also freeing, so much freedom. It is forgiveness. It is alchemy. It is things letting go of how they're supposed to be composed. We go in to everything composed. And once there, this is not a structure. This is just to go in, to go deep in the anima of little subtle things. And we are free. And everything is more consciousness than organized structure. And we can transcend the base intention in nature if we practice and defeat every other layer before it. Mourning, embracing discovery, and change. Om agnaya yanmaya swaha. I invite you to consider doing just one step in your life. Defy one structure. Maybe change a little thing. Choose which one you'll do and change one thing of how much control and power you need over your environment, your diet. Stay healthy, please. But defy yourself just a bit, one step, to see if you can gain more fluidity. We all want to be powerful alchemists and proclaim our freedom of mind and soul and heart. If you want to embrace the supreme core of what everything is made inside, you have to do the work, and you're human as an ego. From this point of fluidity, Om agnaya yanmaya swaha, honest with yourself, determined to, without violence, just do one more step at a time. It is reassuring to say, I do personal growth at a speed I'm comfortable, but at least I will do steps. For real, be honest. If you remember before, when the fingers were just out, Om Namasamanta Vajranamham. What I know of myself of the Vajra state, everything is undefined consciousness. Apply this to everything. Yanmaya means everything. It's not just about me, it's everything around you, the objects, the things, the systems, the structures. At the core, they are fluid, impermanent things, energy that temporarily holds place in a structure, but they're not solid and forever. All of the components that fabricate the universe are temporary flows of energy, fire and water, and just moving. And nothing is a slave of anything. Nothing is a slave even of the base intention of nature from the moment of creation. It was put there so while a specific component is unconscious, it respects the base rule of nature. But once that atom, once that genetic code awakens, it recuperates its freedom, its fluidity. Agnaya yanmaya has the power to apply all the personal growth that you have done and bring it in the manifest world. And it will bring an equivalent freedom and virtue you have cultivated into the core of things. For your practice of health, holistic health, alchemy, divine intervention, to reach deep in your body and in the world of mass around you. It will accelerate your emotional integration, the transmutation of emotional potentials. The more you have mourned arrogance of control and satisfying greedily your insecurities by putting up so much rules, the more you do your work, the quicker you will embrace true power and find the sense of responsibility. And with agnaya yanmaya, it will reach the core of the densest manifestation. Do it on all planes, and you will amaze yourself at the supernatural level. Let's measure that. You make ice cubes that are of equal form. You take 3 of them. You put one in a plate away from you, meters away from you, in the same room, so it's the same temperature. You put one in a plate on your right, and you put one in a plate right in front of you. And you focus with transmigration only on the ice cube in front of you. And you go into an attitude, for now, I accept to mourn any form of structure, accepting the fear of losing my securities, of losing my outside affection, my comfort. Let go of the greed of wanting everything for myself. That's the proper attitude of agnaya yanmaya. I let go of my emotional and mental structures and the security I need, and I accept to mourn and face the fear, and I go into the structure of that ice cube. And you focus patiently, feeling the core of its temperature, embracing the acceleration of energy and the augmenting of temperature, and the losing of the hardness of ice and the embracing of fluidity in water. Agnaya, yanmaya in that ice cube. And you just patiently do it. It will take a long time. Once it has melted a certain point, depending on your patience, you look on the one next to you and you compare. And then you go back to the one you're applying your consciousness and you continue. And once you reach your tolerance with fixity of a practice, 5 minutes, half an hour, once you reach your tolerance, you relax and you back to yourself, swastika. I accept to put back some of my structures that bring me security out of greed and the comfort I need. Okay. Hopefully I've lost a bit of control over others. Then you go and look at the one that is the furthest from you. And then you see how much you have the power to melt an ice cube with your mind by validating what nature by itself has done. So it wasn't a joke. It's like that. Nice class. Next week, on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, Ritz, Zai, and Zen. See you next time.